Hey guys, so I went ahead and created a sort of life-size model of what this is going to look like in the space, just so I can get an idea of how this is going to work in a practicality sense. So I have about 14 feet long here and approximately 10 feet wide, so I think that's going to work in the space that I have available for me. So the individual will start in the zero tolerance area here, and they will start with 3 books inside their backpacks, which are basically the weight or the added stress that they're going to be carrying on. And again, they'll be starting in the zero tolerance education system, and it will read something like this. Carlos has had a heated argument with his parents before leaving school, and he is running late. The difference between restorative policies and zero tolerance practices. So with the first action here, Oscar arrives at school and he is greeted by metal detectors and a police search. So there will be audio to accompany this. At the second action here, Oscar is late to his first period class and his teacher scolds him in front of the class. Oscar talks back and is given a detention. At this point, the individual will pick up an additional book off of the table and add it to their backpack. We'll move on to the third action here. Oscar gets into a minor altercation in the cafeteria. A school police officer detains and arrests both students. Again, the individual will pick up another book off of the table and add it to the backpack. The fourth action is later that afternoon. Oscar is held in a juvenile detention facility all afternoon, missing school. He now has an arrest record and is facing suspension. So at this point, the individual will then take out the books from the backpack to sort of bring them back to ground zero here. And then they will start the restorative practices portion of the trip. I got my willing participant here is not going to help me out too much, so I'll have to do it myself. So for the restorative practices, again, the situation will be the same. And it will kind of read something like, let's try this again, but this time using the restorative practices path. Carlos has had a heated argument with his parents before leaving school, so he is running late. The participant will get to the first action where Oscar arrives at school late. The teacher and administrations then welcome him and his fellow students as they enter. The second action, Oscar is late to his first period class, the same scenario. His teacher waits until after school to speak with Oscar to learn more and sets up a meeting with his counselor. So the individual will actually drop off a book from their backpack here. The third action is Oscar gets into a minor altercation in the cafeteria. The student peer mediators support staff and intervene, and they help the students sit down and de-escalate the situation. So again, the individual will drop off a book. They will then go to the fourth action, which is later that afternoon. Oscar and the other student agree to help clean the cafeteria during a free period. Carlos meets with his counselor and parents after school to help resolve the conflict at home. Then it will come to something like feel the difference, and the individual will then be encouraged to sort of realize the two different actions and those two different paths between those two different practices.